Hello, YouTube. Zach Fenell, author and internet entrepreneur, back with you, continuing my series where I bring you individuals I mentioned in my Cerebral Palsy memoir, Off Balance. With me today is Dr. Mishra, who, the medical world knows him as Dr. Mishra. I know him as my friend Trip from high school, and he has come in from Chicago, not just for this, but we had the moment to record this video, and so Trip, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We've been enjoying a nice afternoon, so it's always good to catch up with friends, and we've come a long way since we've been friends in high school, and actually that's one of the topics I share, or one of the stories I share in Off Balance is we were in Mr. Harkey's AP history class together sophomore year. It was right actually homeroom and then that class. And in homeroom one time I had the piece of tape on my back it was my scar from my back surgery was still healing, and I usually take it off in the morning, but I had this brown piece of tape sticking out, and again, I didn't want to talk about my disability back in the day, so I was just, you were like, Zach, what's that on the, what's that in the back of your shirt or whatever, and I'm like, I tucked it in, I was like, nothing. And looking back, that's kind of like awkward. Like obviously it was something. And so I have a question for you. It's like I mentioned that how that's just an example of where having having a disability, kind of like not talking about it was embarrassing, like to me, or it created this awkwardness. Like what was your take on that situation? Do you remember it, or like? What was, what's your take on that?
Well, I vaguely remember the event just because, to me it was not a big deal. For me, I just presumed there was a minor scratch or something and you had a Band-Aid on. That's what it looked like to me. So when you didn't want to tell me, I was like, all right, must have been a fun time, something. So I pretty much dropped it. I never even thought about it until I was reading your memoir, and it just seemed like one of those things. I was like, oh, I think I remember it.
Yeah.
And then slowly started coming back to it. I was like, oh, now I recall this. It was there. It was just in the middle of class, I think, or it was our first class, so it's one of those things. I was like, oh, must have forgotten a Band-Aid or something, So nothing, like I didn't even find the moment that awkward, to tell you the truth. I just thought it was just one of those things you didn't want to talk about. I was like, okay.
That's why I enjoy doing these videos. It's really interesting to open up the communication lines and kind of get other people's perspectives, whether that's with friends like Trip or James, as with first video, or my family, with my father, my younger brother, Nick so far. I hope to have more of these videos coming your way. And like I said, it's cool to get lines of communications open, and hopefully people out there watching this will maybe help you have those lines of communication with your friends and family where, like, remember that time I did that and that might have been awkward? I thought that was awkward. It's like, what did you think? So if that, if that helps you out there to ask that question, start that dialogue, that'd be awesome. Just let me know too, because that would be cool. That'd be a cool thing for me to know that, I'm helping to create these other conversations with people. I want to help people out, and so that's why I do what I do. And it's interesting though too, like you can probably tell out there that Trip does have an accent. He's from India, so he moved here when you were 12 or 13 years old, so junior high. And so in itself, I think, Trip, you would have an interesting story for a teenage or adolescent memoir, because you're growing up in a new country, new culture. And if you were to write a memoir about your adolescent years, what would you title it, and maybe what would be a couple of key points you would hit on in the book?
I think one of the biggest things I would, well, I guess the title, let's start off with that. I was thinking something along the lines maybe like fresh perspective or an American perspective would be something of a title I would go along with. Just because coming to the U.S., it kind of rearranged my family-centered life to something a little different, where I just had my closest family, my parents and my siblings only around. So whereas in India, I have a very large family that was always around me. So that focus helped me focus my life to what was next. And for me, I think when I came in, I just wanted to pursue a successful career, so that's what I focused in on. Just because by the time you're 14, 15 in India, that's what your biggest concern in life is trying to get into a good college. And so for me, that was the biggest thing about being in high school, was trying to follow my own path and make a successful living. I just came across something I loved, and I've pursued it since, which, as you just pointed out, is medicine. So it's been good.
Speaking of, it's very interesting because a lot of times I'll talk and I give the perspective of someone with CP, and I've interviewed family, and they give that kind of family CP person, and a lot of times you come across people who doctors are kind of looked at. I don't think they're kind of motive for people with CP to kind of there's almost a sense of proving them wrong. I didn't personally have this, but through helping for co-finding and running the Cerebral Palsy Twitter chat, CP chat. Now, I did not wear this shirt on purpose so I could make this plug in there for CP chat now, but it just so happens I'm wearing it. And talking to people, they've had those experiences and reading articles. People have had experiences where the doctor is just tells the family, it's like, don't expect so-and-so to talk, don't expect so-and-so to walk when diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So I think it's really neat to get your perspective as a doctor here and kind of talk about, I don't know if we're talking about exactly diagnosis, but as far as, and not maybe not even specifically to cerebral palsy, but just in general, has, in not to sound, again, I don't mean to be self-centered, but has being friends with me or, reading Off Balance, has any of that helped you, or, has it had an impact on how you approach your patient?
Definitely. It's one of those things you realize, when you're up and coming, is that no matter who it is, no matter what the disability, the disease is, they would still like to be treated as normally as possible. And that was a good practice for me, just hanging out with you, because I realized that you definitely didn't want to talk about things going on with your life. So I just didn't talk about it, and we never had any issues. It's the same thing I do for my patients. Is that when I run into their condition, whatever it may be, I talk about that condition with them, to their comfort level, and I try not to harp on it too long either, just because you want to make them feel as normal as possible, so you relate other people who may be in similar boat, or maybe going along with the same thing. Just as far as going to your other comments, how doctors make you feel like, oh, this won't happen or this won't happen. It's just one of those things we always have to consider in our mind, is that we want to well inform our patients. It's never to discourage anyone. But most people, I would say, want to know is what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario. And as it turns out, people concentrate on the worst case scenarios. It just so happens, everybody's happy when it's the best case scenario, then it's like the world is perfect. However, a lot of people worry about the worst case scenario. And unfortunately, it's our job to let you know what the worst case scenario is. It's just like you see these smoking campaigns these days. Does everybody who smokes get lung cancer? But no, but we want to let you know that that's a very high chance that you may get a lung cancer. And again, people who smoke may take it personally. we try not to make it too personal about those things, but unfortunately it's our job to inform you, and that's what most people get upset about. But it's one of those things. It's in the nature of the work we do. We have to inform you.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, like I said, I think it's really cool to get that perspective from you, because again, families, there's so much emotion involved. It goes to show with myself, to be someone who in high school, Trip knew to avoid talking about CP with me or anything that might be CP related, even if you didn't know, even if you just figure, it might be a scratch and it's a Band-Aid. For me, it was more of coming to embrace CP, which is again what my memoir is about. And so if you haven't checked that out already, I hope you do so. It's available on the Kindle and Nook. If you enjoy these videos, I plan to have more coming up. I've talked to a couple other friends. The Trip is actually I'm really excited that Trip was able to come to town. We're able to do this video because Trip was one of the big three in the cornerstone of my social life and getting out and becoming more outgoing. It was Trip. It was our friends Rob and Pete from high school, the four of us. Also Jorge, I mentioned off balance, a friend from work, but and not to dismean that, but Trip, Rob, and Pete were really the core three. We've stayed in touch over the years, and I'm glad. Like I said, I'm really glad to be in a doctor's perspective into things, and hopefully, Trip's insights today will have you maybe thinking a little different about how a doctor approaches that diagnosis. Do you have any closing comments, Trip?
I think I look forward to seeing this video on YouTube.
All right. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed these videos, I think I carried off and didn't say it before, but if you do enjoy these videos, I'll put up a link around here somewhere, and just click it to subscribe and get more of my stuff coming your way. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.